All right, let's talk about what might just be William Shakespeare's most puzzling and, let's be honest, strangest love poem, Sonnet 130. On the surface, it sounds less like a love letter and more like a laundry list of insults. But is that what's really happening here?
So, right out of the gate, he hits us with this line, "My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun." Not exactly the kind of thing that makes you swoon, is it? Most love poems would be gushing about eyes shining like stars, but Shakespeare starts by telling us what his love isn't. And trust me, he's only just getting started.
And then we get this. He says some perfumes smell way better than his mistress's breath, which apparently reeks. I mean, wow. At this point, you have to wonder if this guy was trying to get dumped. It just sounds so incredibly harsh. Which leads us to the big question, the mystery we're going to solve today. Is this the absolute meanest love poem ever written? Is Shakespeare just brutally roasting the person he's supposed to care about? Or is there something way more clever going on just beneath the surface? You know, for a long time, a lot of people just took the poem at face value. They figured, yep, he's just putting this woman down. It feels like the ultimate backhanded compliment, if you can even call it a compliment. But to really figure this out, we need to zoom out and look at the world he was writing in.
See, to really get it, you have to understand that love poetry back in Shakespeare's day had a very specific set of rules. It was like a game with a playbook everyone followed. And Shakespeare wasn't just playing the game. He was about to flip the entire board over.
So let's talk about this poetic beauty standard. The most popular style of love poetry at the time came from an Italian poet named Petrarch, and his whole thing was these super dramatic, completely over-the-top comparisons.
And this tradition has a name, the Petrarchan conceit. Now, it sounds fancy, but it's a pretty simple idea. A conceit is just an exaggerated comparison. Poets would say their lover's eyes were brighter than the sun, their cheeks were like perfect red roses, their skin was as white as snow. It was a massive trend, but by the time Shakespeare came along, it was getting, well, kind of tired and predictable.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the cliched playbook that every other poet was using. And on the right, you've got Shakespeare's reality check. Instead of beautiful golden hair, he says black wires grow on her head. It's not just a different description, it's a direct shot at the cliché itself.
So, what we're actually watching here is Shakespeare, the ultimate rule breaker, in action. The poem isn't an attack on his mistress, it's a line-by-line demolition of every lazy, uninspired love poem out there. He's taking the whole tradition apart, piece by piece.
Let's look at the rest of the so-called insults. Her skin isn't perfect snow white? Nope, it's dun, which is a normal grayish-brown color. Her voice isn't literal music? Yeah, because she's a human being. And she's not a goddess floating on a cloud. She's a real woman who actually walks on the ground. Every single point is him rejecting a tired, old poetic trope.
He's not just breaking the rules here, he's holding them up and laughing at them. The entire poem is a masterclass in satire. He's basically looking at all the other poets and saying, come on, guys, is this really the best you can do? Let me show you how it's done. But after 12 straight lines of tearing down these poetic ideals, Shakespeare saves his masterstroke for the very end. The final two lines, what's called a couplet, completely flip the script. This is the key that unlocks the whole poem. And here they are. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. Boom! After all of that criticism, he drops this incredibly powerful, sincere declaration. It's the ultimate mic drop of Elizabethan poetry.
So, what is this false compare he's talking about? This is everything. It's the fake, over-the-top, and, let's face it, untruthful comparisons that all those other poets were using to describe the women they were writing about. That is the real target of this poem.
So here it is, the big twist. He's not insulting his mistress, not even a little bit. He's insulting all the other poets for lying. He's calling out their false compare for what it is, insincere and fake. To put it in today's language, he's basically saying, my love is just as amazing and special as any of those women you've heard about in poems. You know, the ones who've been described with all those ridiculous lies about having eyes like the sun. His love is real, and that's exactly what makes her so beautiful.
And that just changes everything, doesn't it? The poem goes from being a bizarre list of insults to something that feels incredibly modern and relevant, which raises the question, why does this 400-year-old poem still feel so fresh?
So what's the big takeaway here? Well, Sonnet 130 is a brilliant piece of satire. It's a powerful challenge to unrealistic, cookie-cutter beauty standards. It's a celebration of a love that's authentic and genuine. And maybe most of all, it argues that real, true affection doesn't need to be propped up by fake praise.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. In our world, a world totally filled with social media filters, curated perfection, and idealized images, isn't this 400-year-old takedown of false compare more relevant and maybe even more necessary than ever before?